Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I want to offer some encouragement and talk about how finances get easier with time. This is a topic that I don't see discussed very often, and maybe that's because it's an obvious thing, but I really want to talk about it because I think a lot of times people will start their debt-free journey or, start getting into their finances, but give up within a couple of months or after a few months because, maybe something pops up, like an emergency pops up, or they have other setbacks in their life that come up. And I think for something like this, a lot of people underestimate the persistence that's required and the consistency, the time that it's going to take to get where you want to, or even just a little bit closer to where you want to be. And with that, I kind of want to share what I mean by this, but also show some examples of my own journey. Because another thing is that you may be watching this. This may be the first video that you're watching of mine, or you just started watching my videos in December or something, and you're like, oh wow, this is, she has this much money saved. She's able to pay off thousands of dollars of debt each month or invest money each month. I can barely blah, blah, blah. Or you may watch other YouTubers who are documenting their finances and you feel like you are way behind even where they are. But I want to remind you that all of us started somewhere, and I only started documenting my journey I started late 2019, but I had, stuff going on the couple of years prior to that when I started my debt-free journey after graduating college, all of these things that I have not shown in detail on the internet. And there were times in my life where I was not making progress at all. I was going backwards with my finances. So I don't want my videos to be a false illusion of what to expect with your finances. So let's start with some hypotheticals, and I'll throw in a little bit of my own examples because I feel like I followed this path pretty closely, and a lot of people have as well. For many of us, we start our journey with we're living paycheck to paycheck, or we could have a lot of debt. Maybe we're going into further debt every single month. So we have a low paying job, or we just graduated from college. Or you could be in a situation where the bills that you have to pay in order to, keep a roof over your head and plus stay up to date with all of your debt is more than you have coming in from your income. This is definitely the hardest stage because you're going to want things. You're going to want to start paying off your debt, want to start saving money, but you first have to work up that courage to, one, look at your finances and take a deep dive and get an understanding of where you currently stand. But this is also the hardest part to dig yourself out of. I know for myself, this would be like 2017 for me. I had graduated college in 2016. And in 2017, I was still working an hourly wage job. It had been like 6 months since I graduated, and I had to start paying back my student loan debt. Now, there were a number of financial setbacks that I experienced. I know a couple of emergencies popped up, like going to doctor visits, or I was in a lot of credit card debt. That was definitely because I had poor spending habits, or I just wasn't making enough money to, purchase groceries and stuff like that. I also had to start paying back my student loans. So already I was struggling to keep up with my finances. And then I had an additional $300 plus per month that I needed to pay. And I was like, okay, I need to get serious here. I need to figure out what I need to do. I do remember around that time for me, that really started with getting inspiration from other people. So I can't remember exactly what I was looking into, but I remember doing a lot of research on just like Googling stuff and finding blog posts that were motivating to me about getting out of debt and getting my finances in order. I also knew at this time that I needed to increase my income. So it was time for me to really work toward getting a job in my field of study. So I had my master's degree, and obviously I had debt from that. So it's like I might as well use that education to get a serious career. So I was working toward that, but also I switched from my hourly wage job at that time to another one that was a little bit higher paying and more consistent hours and pay. But something really important during this time that I want to call out is you are more likely to run into financial issues. And that was definitely the case for me. There's a couple of reasons for this. So the first thing is that you're probably more stressed. So I know that was the case for me. I was losing a lot of sleep. I would be sad or upset frequently, stressing about whatever financial situation I was in, and It would keep me up at night, sleeping less, etc. So with that, you're more likely to get sick or something would come up. You could be distracted and you hurt yourself by doing something. So then you have to go to the hospital, or you have to, maybe you broke something, so you have to fix it. And that puts you even further in the hole. The second thing is the kind of going along with that is the energy around you. When you're in a stressful situation and the energy that you're feeling and putting out is negative, it's going to attract more negativity to you. And I know a lot of people don't believe this. This is, law of attraction and manifestation and such, but I am a strong believer in energy and manifestation because I have seen it before. There were times where I was just such a negative person, or the thoughts that I was thinking were not serving me. I was in a bad mood, feeling very hostile, and I put that out to the world. And I got that back. So I started losing hours at work. I started having bills come up. I started having bad things happen that really affected my finances. So it was just this awful cycle, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. And what sucks about this is, let's say you start saving up a little bit, like maybe you get to $500 in savings for an emergency fund. Well, then you get a flat tire, right? So then you go to the car shop and they're like, okay, we can replace one tire, but you probably should just go ahead and replace all 4 tires. And then that's your whole emergency fund gone, plus more on top of that, because it's probably more than $500, and you're back to square one. So when a setback happens during this time, it's a major setback. You really feel it, and you're like, well, there goes my emergency fund. And then it's even harder for you to recover. I think this is the stage where oftentimes a lot of people give up, and they're like, well, what's the point? Like, I've been trying for several months and I can't get ahead. It is impossible for me to save. It's impossible for XYZ. And I understand. I completely understand. But the reason I wanted to make this video is because if you are feeling that way, or maybe you do feel that way currently, or if you felt that way in the past, I would like you to share your experience, because if you just keep on persisting and keep on going, you will get to a better financial situation. I did want to share some numbers that I have actually from February of 2018. Now, unfortunately, I was not documenting my finances in 2017 or 2016. I started in February of 2018, and not in as much detail at all, anywhere close to what I do today. But I do have like a breakdown of my income and how much debt I had, how much debt I was paying at that time. So in February of 2018, I was working at that new job. It was an hourly paid job. I think I was getting like $12 an hour. I was working front desk at an urgent care. I have here that my work income for February 2018 was $1,646. That's obviously not enough to live off of. I was making some extra income, so I see here that I got a tax refund, so that's not consistent. I did get a tax refund over $1,100, but that's not something that occurs every single month. I did have some cash back from my credit card, and then it looks like I made a sale on eBay that month and had some affiliate earnings from Amazon at the time. So altogether, my income was a little bit over $2,800. And I can see here that the minimum payment for me to pay for my debt was $646. That includes the car that I was leasing at the time. And obviously that's a pretty big chunk of my income at the time. And then I can see that that month, even though I paid $646 toward my debt, the only amount that actually decreased was $28, a little less than $28 actually, because I had a lot of credit card debt. I had, student loans. I barely had made a dent on them. The interest rate was still up there, and I was basically just paying off the interest, and actual debt that went down was $27.97. So as you can imagine, it's hard to get ahead when you're making hundreds of dollars in payments, but your debt is barely moving. And it's like, okay, if I'm only earning $1,600 in income and I have to buy food, I have to pay for rent or my living situation and other bills, then where in that can I start saving? Where in that can I start investing? How can I start making more payments toward my debt? As I said before, I knew that I needed to work toward getting a higher income job. I do have my bachelor's degree, I do have my master's degree, and I know not everybody has that. That is perfectly fine. I would suggest looking into, the tech industry, or you don't have to go to college. You don't have to go to college to increase your income or anything of that sort. Obviously, there are so many people who become millionaires without even graduating high school, or there are so many people who can do the same thing by working retail or being a janitor, working as a server. If you're smart with your money in those jobs, you absolutely can still get ahead too. But I just knew for myself that I needed to take that debt and actually put it to use. Like I might as well. So I did work toward getting my actual career. I did eventually get a job as a microbiologist in April 2018, and that's really when things started to shift for me. It wasn't anything crazy, but it really allowed me to start, putting more toward my debt, and also allowed me to save to get me into a better financial situation overall. So this could mean a number of things for different people. You could get a pay increase at your current job, maybe you get promoted. You could completely switch careers like I did, get into something that is much higher paying, or even more recently, I switched to Salesforce consulting. I can link my videos around that down below if you're interested in switching careers and getting a job that will actually pay you a lot more money. You may come into some cash flow, like maybe you get your tax refund and that allows you to get ahead for a little bit. You could also start side hustles or have just some side gigs or a second job, which is also really beneficial and a big part of my story. Maybe not back in 2018, but definitely now. And what this allows you to do is save a little bit more, pay off a little bit more debt if you have debt, and whether you're doing the debt snowball or debt avalanche, you are making more room to pay off more debt. So once you pay off a debt and that's gone, you now freed up that minimum payment. Let's say you had a $100 minimum payment for a credit card, and then you pay that off. Now that $100 payment can go to your next debt, or you could put that $100 to your savings or other financial goals that are important to you. And now, instead of being in the negative cycle like we were before, where we were just continuing to go into debt or living paycheck to paycheck, we are going in a positive cycle where we can keep on going down that debt snowball or debt avalanche, or just increasing our cash flow to grow our money. I do think a crucial step at this point is building up a decent emergency fund. I personally don't think $1,000 is enough for most people, like what Dave Ramsey says. I think you should look at your deductibles or pay attention to other emergencies that you've had. This is going to vary for everybody, but I would say if you can save up enough money that if something does happen, it's not going to be a major setback for you, where you, again, go back to, the beginnings. And while you're in this cycle of improvement, you're starting to pay down more debt or save more money, if something does happen, it's not as big of a setback. Like, yes, you may have to recover that emergency fund, or you're gonna have to move your money around a little bit, but it's not gonna be something catastrophic where you are now completely stressed out. You're gonna have that money there. You're going to cash flow that emergency and move on. The next month you can start saving again, and it's not something that's going to completely stress you out and keep you up at night, at least from my experience. And this just continues. So as long as you're maintaining your positive financial habits, and not even just maintaining, you're improving them. So you are increasing your income. I think that's really important. Increasing your income is huge. You can obviously cut back on expenses, but there's only so much that you can cut back on. You will eventually reach a point where there's no more that you can cut out. So in order to increase that gap, you need to increase your income. If you continue to budget, you continue to add to your savings, at this point you probably are investing, whether that be through your employer's company plan or your own Roth IRA, your own brokerage, whatever the situation may be. And finances almost become easy. You will be in a completely different place from where you started from the beginning. Progress may still be slow. You can see from myself, I do still have debt. I am working toward paying that off, so I can't focus all of my time and energy on investing just yet. But now I don't ever have a situation where I don't have enough money for an emergency fund. I have multiple emergency funds actually. So I have my main emergency fund, which is for, something big or medical or something like that. Thank goodness I haven't had to touch that in quite some time. I'm really grateful for that. But I also now have a sinking fund for car maintenance. So if I have a timing belt that needs to be changed, or my brakes need to be changed, I'm like, okay, just, yeah, go ahead. I can cash flow that and then replenish a little bit of that sinking fund as time goes. I'm able to travel now without stressing, because I remember back in 2017, I had taken a vacation. This was, I was like, oh, I graduated. I wanna travel. And it was a pretty expensive trip, at least for me at that time. And I felt so guilty about it. Like, I shouldn't be doing this. I'm going into further debt for this trip. Yes, I charged it to my credit card and I just went to it. I don't regret that, but it was something that didn't sit well with me. I had a lot of guilt around that. But now I book a vacation and I'm just excited about it. I'm okay with splurging on it because it's something that I know I can afford and I know is very important to me. I'm able to work toward multiple goals. So no, I can't max out my Roth IRA quite yet on the first of the year, but I was able to max out my Roth IRA for the first time last year, and that's huge for me. I'm almost debt free. I have a decent chunk in my emergency fund. I was able to increase my income, switch careers and increase my income, and I know that over the next couple of years I will dramatically increase my income. I've stayed consistent with my side hustles, so obviously I've been seeing a lot of growth there and making more income from that. So then it allows me to pay off more of my debt, also to save toward my sinking funds, also to invest money, and that is incredible. And then the next stage is when your money really starts working for you, and that's when you have so much money saved and invested that it is growing just by hundreds and hundreds, potentially thousands of dollars each month on its own. So that's going to be capital gains in the market. That's going to be dividends, compounding interest, all of that. It comes together and your money is working for you. Even at this stage that I'm currently in, that I know many of you are in as well, my money is still working for me, but because it's a smaller amount that I have invested and saved, then it can't do as much for me. But with time, that's going to improve. And all it takes is your persistence with this positive financial habit, paying attention to your finances. I mean, you're watching this video, so you're probably on track doing all these things, but I just wanted to make this as a reminder to not give up, and it will get easier. And also, as I said, as a reminder that this is not where I started. On Transfer Tuesdays, if you are doing a $5 transfer each week, that's amazing. Maybe in 3 months from now, you start doing $10 every week, or eventually you're gonna get to $100 each week or hundreds of dollars each week, and it's going to get easier with time, and you will get to the point where you want to eventually. Just do not give up. Yeah, I feel like this video was a little bit all over the place, so I apologize for that, but this is something I've wanted to talk about for quite some time, but I also happened to see that spreadsheet of mine where my income was much lower than it is now, and how much debt I had compared to where I'm at now. And I thought this would be an important message to share. But hopefully, if you have been feeling negative about your financial situation or wanting to give up, this is motivation for you not to give up. Just stick with it. Thank you so much for watching. Comment down below if you have any questions or if you want to share your story. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.